I'll try to.
Tethering?
All right,
Bobby? You tethering?
Yeah. You good?
Oh, we start. Starting or we waiting?
No, we saw you waited for the bracha. Don't worry. You got it. You're on, don't worry.
Keep that closer. Okay, so Kuflam and Chesam and Aleph. Yeah, wow, that's really up close and personal.
You know.
Okay. Start using makeup. Kuflam and Chesam and Aleph for posterity, so that we'll have this on video. Le'ol Me'ad. Just want to give a very big yashar koach to Gary Ben Moshe for uploading every single day. Last night up till 2 a.m, 3 a.m, making sure it gets uploaded so that our Mancunians and our worldwide watchers across the U.S. also get it. So it's like we said, if we can get another 230 subscribers, we'll hopefully be home free. So if anyone has those connections or can send that link out, that would be a very big thing. Another 200 subscribers and we're free. Okay, on that note, Kuf Lamed Chesed Amud Aleph, the Mishnah said we're about 5 lines from the Mishnah of a Kamenoisenloi, 5-6 lines from the top of the Amud. The Mishnah pointed out that when you give the Kayan the Tzemer, you have to give it to him Meluban. You have to give it to him. It has to be white. Yeah, Meluban velo tzavo. It has to be white and not colored. The Gemara now qualifies that. Tana, lo shiel abnenu veitnenu lo. It doesn't mean that you have to use the whitening process. There's two chidushim here in this Gemara. Lo shiel abnenu veitnenu lo. Ela shiel abnenu kain v'yamod al chamis laim. What it means to say is that when the kain receives it, the kain, first of all, has to do the process of whitening it, of cleaning it. When you give the rachis, I guess you don't have to do that. But you do have to make sure that you give him more than 5 slimes worth of weight of wool, so that at the end of the day, after he cleans it and he does the kibbutz on it, he ends up with 5 slimes worth of clean wool. Okay, so it's an end game. The kohen has to have in his hand 5 slimes worth of clean wool. The kohen himself has to do the process, but you just have to give it to him full amount.
Doesn't mean white, because gray
Clean.
wool
Clean.
has to also be.
Clean. Okay. It does not have to bleach it, but we did learn in the Mishnah as well that if you bleach it, you're not putter. You're only putter if you colored it, not if you bleached it. Next. The Gemara said, the Mishnah said, Kedei lasois beged cotton. You have to give him enough wool that he can make a beged cotton out of it. Minani Mile, how do you know? Amar Yishua ben Levi Amar Kra la'amoid l'shares davar shu roi l'sherus. You have to give him enough wool that can make something that he could use during his sherus. This kayan, this pasuk of giving the kayan, the Reishis Agez comes after the psukim of the begadim of the big lekuna, and it says that you have to give it to him la'amoid l'shares. No, this pasuk comes after the pasuk of Reishis Agez, and it says that you have to give it to him la'amoid l'shares. Yeah, so Lamed L'Sharis means that you have to give him enough wool that he can make something that he can use for the begadim. What's the minimal amount that you can give him so that he can make something that he can use in the base of Mikdash? And Avnate, yeah, this little belt. Who says it's the smallest thing? Maybe it's the largest thing that you can give him. Maybe the meal. Maybe you have to give him enough wool that he has in hand that he can make a meal out of it. Says the Gemara, no, tafasta. When we're coming to tell you the least amount, if you want to tell me more, you have to prove to me that I have to give you more than that amount. But when we're talking about a minimum amount, so that would be the avnate. Ask the Gemara, okay, well then we find something smaller than the avnate. We find something smaller than a belt that the Kohanim used. They a kippah shel tzemer. Ditanya, there's a brisa. Kippah shel tzemer haisa munachas beroish kohen gadol. Ve'ol had under his tzitz. He had this little either hat, according to Rashi, or according to others, it was a strip of tcheles that he had on his head, and he would put the tzitz on the tcheles. And that shear is a smaller shear than the avnei. So once we're saying you have to give the minimum amount of Reish Agez in order to make this Lamod or Lusharis,
Yeah, kind of about Borsarino. Couldn't do his avoid without the Borsarino.
that was on top. Was on top. The horse was on top. Okay.
Did keep us from going?
Well, underneath. You mean he was hiding it?
See you again.
The Avni was 32 hours long.
The Avnei. So,
Yeah,
so this is much smaller.
Yeah.
This is tiny.
32 hours.
It's quite a dark.
From the Araya. Okay. So then that's the question. If we're going to say it's the minimum amount, so then maybe it's this little kippah that he wore. Amar Kara, hu uvanav. The pasuk says hu uvanav. You have to give him something that's relevant to him, the Kohen Gadol, and to his children. Meaning, davar shava le'aron ulevanav. Not just something that the Kohen Gadol wore, but something that the Kohen Gadol and the Kohen Hedjot would wear. As the Gemara, avneit nami loy shavei. Avneit. Yeah, Avneit is also not something that's shaveh l'chol nefesh. Why? So we say, Hani chalamad amar avneito shaven gadol lo zehu avneito shakoin hedyoy shapir. So according to the mandamar, that whole that was made out of pishtan, just out of silk, yeah, and the avnei linen, just out of linen, and the avnei nothing, and the avnei worn by the regular Kohen, the Kohen Hedyot, was made out of a mix of wool and linen. Yeah, it's not the same. So then Shapir. Why? Because the Kohen Gadol had a special avnei that he wore on Yom Kippur made just out of linen. But during the year, he wore just like all the other Kohanim. So that's Shapir. That to make this avnei, I'm giving something that both the Kohen Gadol wore and the regular Kohanim wore. But according to the Mandamar that held that this avnei, the regular Kohanim also wore this avnei just out of linen, and only the Kohen Gadol wore this kilayim type of avnei special on Yom Kippur. That's a machlokes in Yuma. So there's a Mandamar that holds that all Kohanim wore only this yotze with an avnei. Says the Gemara, Hashem avneit ba'olam. At the end of the day, it's still called a belt. It's called an avneit. And if it's called an avneit, so then my chiyuv of reishis agez, the minimum amount that I have to give is something that's called a belt. Whether it's made completely out of linen or made out of linen and wool, that doesn't matter. It's still something that's called equal to Aaron HaKohen, meaning the Kohen Gadol, and Banav and his children, all Kohanim Hedyot also.
So it will only be half a share. You only
No,
give the
well,
wool for
No, five slime is the amount necessary of wool to make the mixed avnei, and then on top of that you need linen also. You're not giving them a full bag.
That's a 10 slime.
I don't know if linen and wool are equal in value, then it would be a 10 slimes worth. Wait, correct. Then it would be.
Spigadim like that, wool linen.
Well, the tzitzis, that was the big one, right? But otherwise, no, I don't think so. I don't know.
They just mentioned two other ones that were wool and linen as well.
I don't
They
know.
call
What
the beged.
the tzitz,
Just
the kippah.
the innkeeper.
Okay. Lo hispik litno. Here's a very interesting question. Itmar. Gazaz v'machar. Yeah. What if you own this sheep, and after each sheep, we said that you have to have 5 sheep in order to have your chiyuv of reishis agez. And from each sheep, you need a certain amount. That we learned yesterday, a machlokes of what amount. What happens if you bought a sheep, you were geizes it, and you sold it. And then you bought the next one, you were geizes it, and you sold it. So now you don't own the sheep, and we learned as well that when it says so, no, you have to own the sheep. Correct? Remember, we learned that if you just buy the shearings off of a guy, you're not chayav a mitzvah of reishis agez. You have to own the actual animal. That's what we learned a few days ago. Kuf lamed hey. So now the question is, what if you bought it? So now I own that sheep, I sheared it, and then I sold it. Now I don't have enough wool in front of me right now. So now I bought the next one, sheared, sold. And I did that 5 times. And now I've got wool's worth of 5. And at some point, I owned these sheep. But now I don't own these sheep when this chiyuv comes on. Am I chayav to give reishis agez or not? Fascinating question. Gazaz umachar rishayna. Rav Chizda amar chayav. Rav Nasian bar Hoshia amar pater. So Chizda says chayav, or Nasan Barishya says you're pater. Rav Chizda Amar chayav hagazas. At the end of the day, you own these sheep and you shear them, and you shear them. Yeah. So now the fact that you don't own the other 4 at this moment, no big deal. Rav Nasan Barishya Amar pater beidna de kamale shiura beinin tzayncha v'leika. Now, when we say tzayncha that you have to own it, that's when the chiyuv is going to come on you. At what point does the chiyuv come on you? Number 5. Number 5 is when you shear that last bit of wool that's now going to give you the amount that you have to give to the kayan. Since you don't own all 5 at that point, you're pater. Fascinating. So now we try to disprove. Okay? Tanan. Halokech gez tzayna shalevet kochavim pater mereshis hagez. If you take, we learned this already. If you take just the wool of the oived kochavim, you're pater from reshis hagez. What can I be medayek? Hatzoynoi ligzois chayev. But if I buy it off him, and then I'm gozes, and then I give it back to him, but I'm chayev. Yeah? So you see, I'm chayev, even though I'm not going to own all 5 of them at the end of the day. Right? The diuk is only because I bought the wool. But what if I bought the whole animal, then sheared it, and then sold it back to him, or I only bought it to own it for those 10 minutes of shearing and then sold it back to him? I'm chayev. Kasha and Rav Nasan Bar Hoshia. Amai. Kol chayv v'chayv basar giza nafkalim rishusei. How come? According to you, Rav Nasan Bar Hoshia, after you bought it, you sheared it, you sold it back to him, you're good to go. You're a free bird. You shouldn't be chayev.
But
Here,
he bought all 5 one by one.
One by one.
He didn't buy all 5 together.
One by one. Bought, sheared, sold back. Bought, sheared.
How's that
sold back.
different to the first? I mean, that's exactly what it says in the first.
First one, I only bought the shearings. I only bought the pairs.
No, I mean before.
That's exactly the point. That's the kasha. You, Rav Nasan Bar Hoshia, said in such a case you'd be pater. Here we're showing you a deal that says you're chayav. Says the Gemara, and pay attention who answers for him. Tirgama Rav Chizda, who's his bar plukta. Right? Rav Chizda is the one that says chayav, but he comes to save the day for him. I'm not just looking for the MS here. Tirgama Rav Chizda, leave it Rav Nasan Bar Hoshia, kigan shehiknan loy kol shloshim yom. Now, when he purchased it, the diuk is not that he purchased it and sold it right back, but he purchased it for 30 days. So at the time that he did all 5, he still owned all 5. And then he sold them back. So the chiddush is that, according to Rav Nasan Bar Hoshia, even if you're going to own it temporarily, you would still be chayav in achnami. But I stick to what I say. If at the time I bought it, I sheared and then I sold it back right away, you'd be pater, no raya lakan or lakan. That's a machlokas.
You need to sell it back, because every time you just shear it, you don't have anything with the behema. You don't have any money with the behema, so it goes back to the automatically.
No, he's buying the man.
You buy the behema for the shearing, not the behema. The
Yeah.
behema itself belongs to the akum. So then when it shears the first one, it goes back to the akum automatically because it doesn't have anything in the behema.
I'll tell you an afkamina. What if it gets? What if it dies? What if it gets stolen?
No, it doesn't belong to the Jewish.
No, that's the point. It does. It does. It does. He's buying the whole animal. That's the
In
difference.
the question, we
Yeah,
understand
yeah. That he's buying the animal, shearing it, selling it back.
But with intention to sell it back?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he has the highest.
But he has the
It
right.
doesn't have anything. The toes.
Right. In the Havamina, I bought the first one, I sheared it, and then I sold it back.
You need to sell it back. I mean, it happens.
Although it's automatic, the purchase, but I'm buying it, so I'm buying the animal as opposed to buying just the wool. That's the difference. Okay. Next. Said the Mishnah, Man Tana. Now here we said something very interesting, right? We said when I purchased from another Jew this wool, so who's chayv and rashis against? We qualified that for sure there's a chiyuv rashis against because we're just dealing with Jews over here. So either the owner had the chiyuv of rashis against already, or I have a chiyuv of rashis against when I bought it. So that depends. If the owner sold me the whole sheep with all the wool, or just sold me all the wool, so then I'm chayv in the mitzvah of rashis against, right? Because he sold me all the wool, the buyer, because he sold me all the wool. If the seller left himself a piece of wool for himself, So we say that he didn't sell the matnas kahuna, and that stays with the seller, and the seller is the one that's chayav to give the matnas kahuna. That's what the Mishnah said. Fine. So ask the Gemara. Man Tana. Who's the Tana? The heicha de ika shiura gabe moicher batar moicher as linan. Who's the Tana that holds this shita? That if the seller keeps for himself a piece of the matanos, or if the seller keeps for himself a piece of wool, or is mishayir for himself something, then that seller is one that's chayav to give the matanos and not the kohen.
And we wouldn't have a car like that, for instance, in Truma. Somebody sells his whole stock of flour.
Yeah, and he leaves some back for himself.
But if he doesn't,
If he doesn't, then
the whole thing's table, whatever. It's either been tumud or not tumud.
and we said the same thing over here as well. If you sold me all of the wool, I have to give the rashis a guess. If you sold me everything, it's exactly like
and with wheat, with flour.
the same thing. If you sold me everything, I'd have to
But
take off
if I kept
two
some back to myself,
then you would have the chiyuv of taking that amount.
until the original owner is taking it.
But in a chanami,
The new buyer
I can't use it.
Can't assume that it's been done.
correct, and I can't use it. But the chiyuv of giving it is on you. The chiyuv of giving that matnos kahuna is on you. It remains tevel.
Even demaya in perpetuity.
Yeah, until I can clarify, or until maybe I give myself, even though I'm not good. Right? So who is the mandamer that would hold that? Who's the mandamer that holds when you hold back? Then it's the owner, the original owner, that has to give it. I lost my place.
No.
Amar Rav Chizda, Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda. Ditnan. We learned. Hamaycher kilchei ilan b'toich sadeu nice and pel kol echad ve'echad. What's kilchei ilan b'toich sadeu? You have a wheat field. You don't. It's not a stei ilanos. It's a regular wheat field, but in between the wheat field grows some ilanos. You have different. I've got all sorts over here. Yeah. Grows different trees. You have random trees growing here or there. So the chiddush is over here that you have to give payah on these random trees. On trees, yes, you give payah on trees. Yeah, on each tree you give. So hamaycher kilchei ilan b'toch sadeu. So now I sell off these trees. I'm selling off these trees. So who's an incumbent on to give the payah? Noisen payah l'kol echad ve'echad. And now Rabbi Yehuda qualifies that. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, a masai. When is that true? Bisman sheloi shir balasadeh. That's only if the balasadeh, the owner of this wheat field, didn't leave himself one of these trees. Aval shir balasadeh nosen payah l'kol. But if he left himself one of these trees, then that tree he has to use to be yotzei chiyuv payah on all the other trees that he has in that wheat field. Amalei Rava, that's not a good raya. That's not a proof that Rabbi Yehuda is his mandamar. V'amar Hu da'amar v'hu shehitchil balasadeh liktar. You, Rav Chizda, said yourself that that's only true if the balasadeh started to be kaitzer. He started to already weed the field. But if you didn't start, then the chiyuv is not on you. Yeah. And if you want to tell me, yeah, that's true. But here also, our Mishnah is talking about when you start to do the geziza. Because this owner, the original Bailim, started to shear, yeah, because he started shearing, now he has the chiyuv if he left himself something over. Only then we said that. That's not true. Over there by Peah, the pasuk says, when you start to do the ktsira, you're going to have a chiyuv Peah. So that makes sense. Meidna da'at chilik so mechayev bekula sadeh. Elahacha meidna da'at chilik lemegas lo mechayev bekula adre. But over here, the chiyuv of rashis, I guess, doesn't start as soon as you start shearing it. It has nothing to do with actually starting to shear. It has to do when you own it. So over here, since the owner owned it, he has to give his field. Yeah, so it's not a fair comparison. So we're still looking. Who's this Tana that holds? Who's the Tana that holds that by these matanos, if you left some over, you're going to be chayav on it? Elama Rava, hi Tanahu. Here's the Tana. Ditnan. We learned this already. This is going to sound familiar. Amar Loi, Machar li b'nei me'eh shel parazu v'haya b'hen matanos. Remember that? Nice non lakayan. When you come to this shaykhet and you tell him, I'd like you to sell me this piece of meat, and in that piece of meat have the matanos. Yeah, he has to give it to the kayan, and now pay attention. Nice non lakayan ve'ein menake loy bin adamim, right? And me, the buyer, right, doesn't have to take back, doesn't get back money from this sale. Why not? Why don't I get money back from the sale, right? I bought from the shaychet
Intention to give the affirmation.
because the matanos were included in the sale, meaning the shaychet said, when I sold you this piece of meat, the matanos in there were mine. I wasn't including that in the price. Since I wasn't including that in the price, what does that prove? That I held the matanos to myself, says the shaychet. I was just using you as a shaliach to give the matanos to the Kohen, to Schoenberg, right? I went to the shaychet and I said, I want this piece of meat. I bought the piece of meat for X amount of money, not weighing it. For X amount, $20, I bought this piece of meat. Out of that meat, I have to take out the matanos and give it to the Kohen. And really, I'm acting here as a shaliach for the shaychet because the shaychet never sold that. And now I'm getting only $10 worth of meat. The shaychet's going to say to me, what do you mean? When I sold you that meat, obviously $10 worth was mine. I hold that to myself. I was just using it as a shliach. You were really only buying $10 worth of meat. That's how much you get. Mine is the matanos. Yeah. And that's the number. The sefer of that was lakach min b'mishkal. But when you buy that piece of meat from him by weight, when you buy it by weight, noisnan l'kayinu menakelo min damim. Yeah, then you have to take off the damim. Alma matanis tekayin lo mazbin inish. Achanami matanis tekayin lo mazbin inish. So here too, by Reish Sagaz, when you're buying from another Jew the shearings of this wool, so the seller, if he leaves something over for himself, he doesn't sell the matanis. Hilkach shir hamaycher. And now we're summarizing again. Hilkach shir hamaycher. When the meicher leaves himself something, gabechi, the lokeach, the buyer says to the seller, hey, you've got the manas kahuna, go give it to him. Loishir, if he doesn't leave anything over, lokeach chayev, then the lokeach is chayev. Why? Damer le meicher matana dekayin lo zvini lach. I never sold you the matanas of the kohen. Okay. Next, Hadran alach reishis hagez. Is that even though we know the very famous Gemara, that Shiloh HaKen really has nothing to do with Rachamim, it just has to do because Hashem is Geyser. The Rambam actually holds that Shiloh HaKen is actually a din of Rachamim, that you're having mercy on the mother bird. She shouldn't see you taking the children away. And he discusses that Gemara. What does that mean? Am
I allowed to interrupt something worthwhile? And that is that the most amazing exhibition at the moment on in the Israel Museum in Yerushalayim, which ends at the end of April, of 15 original either Chisayad or first prints of the Rambam. They've brought together the top 15 editions of the Rambam, including Kisvayad, and it's worth going just for that to Yerushalayim.
Okay, there's your Cholamoid activity number one.
It's free on Cholomai, right? Zoom is free on Cholomai.
No, only for children, I think.
And back to Shiloh.
Yeah, but when the Rambam gives that reason, it doesn't mean it's the only reason. It's a reason.
Correct. One of the reasons. Furthermore, I saw, and I want to read this to you, the Chinuch says very nicely that the Chinuch says that the Chinuch has what's called the Shorish HaMitzvah of every single mitzvah that we learn, right? So the Chinuch says something beautiful. He says the Shorish of this mitzvah is that every time we do the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKen, we have to think to ourselves, take a look how Hashem is watching over even this bird to make sure that they don't become extinct, right? Because if I'm going to take the eggs, I'm sending away the mother to make sure that she could still reproduce, to make sure that she could have more children, to make sure that this species is not going to die out. So if Hashem's rachamim is on this little bird and to make sure that this species is not going to die out, kol shekain v'kol shekain on us, bnei Adam, the bechir sheba'olam, Hashem is watching over and having hashgacha on. That's a very, that's the Shorish HaMitzvah that the Chinuch brings down. Very fascinating. One other thing that I saw was just a very interesting discussion, was just something to think about. Because a lot of these things are things that you think about when every once in a while you get to do the mitzvah and you just kind of wonder to yourself these odd things sometimes. So it's interesting. Do you have to have intention to use the eggs or not to be chayav the mitzvah? I don't know if you ever thought that. To be chayav the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKen. So that's a discussion in the poskim. The discussion in the poskim is whether, do you have to have intention that I'm actually going to take the eggs to use them or to eat them, or no, I just want to be kind of the mitzvah shiluach haken, so I'll shoo away the bird, do that action of taking the eggs, and then put it back in its place, so I can be yaitz the mitzvah or not.
My neighbor, they would do it over and over. They would take, shoo away the mother bird, take the eggs, put it back, she'd come back, they'd shoo away. Everyone in the neighborhood got to do the mitzvah.
And we got a chance.
Same
And the same eggs. So maybe that's how we paskin. Yeah, that's how we paskin. Okay, in any case, I thought those were just two interesting points. Okay, Shiluach Haken, says the Mishnah. Shiluach Haken, Noyeg, Ba'aretz, Uvechutz La'aretz. Bifnei Abayis, Veshaloi Bifnei Abayis, or the base of Mikdash or not. Bechulin, Avalo Bemugdashim. It's only Shayach by Chulin, not by Hekdesh. What?
What does it do with Chullin?
What does this have to do with Chulin?
Yeah.
Why is it brought here? Well, that's what we said also by Reishis Agez. The reason we're bringing it is just once we started on the Matnas Kun of the Zola Chaim and Keva, so we started to bring on now all these different mitzvos that we moved into Reishis Agez. And now why Shiluach Haken? Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question.
Homework. You're gonna keep the eggs. So more food.
Homework.
Yep, I don't know.
Maybe you also take the meat of if you take, allowed to take them out and
That's a
the
good question.
chicks, so maybe something and not eating the
Maybe.
the bird.
I don't know.
Well,
Well, we see. Well, we're going to see that we're about to compare it to Kisur Yadam. So maybe it's a stretch, but maybe
They do.
that's all.
At the end of the day, if it's hegdish, then you don't have the right to chase it away.
That's what we're going to say, right? So why on earth is it doing what's it doing in Chulin?
Because it's only in Chullin and not in Mikdash. So you have difference between Chullin and Mikdash, maybe because of that.
How come we're not in yeshiva?
Because
Yeah, you have lots of mitzvahs like that. Yeah, maybe. Okay, I don't know. Bechol b'fnei abayis, shor b'fnei abayis. If anybody has a good answer, I'd be happy to post that one. If you can post that.
First, what does the Gemara say? Levad Morashis Hagiz.
What?
Levad Morashis Hagiz. They compare Shiluach Haken to Morashis Hagiz.
Yeah.
And that,
Yes, that's what we said. Maybe that's the comparison. That's why it's bringing it.
The Mishnah was in
Yeah. Okay.
the Mishnah had the Gemara in mind. The Gemara is a pirush of the Mishnah.
B'chulin avalo b'mukdashim. Chomer b'kisur adam mishiluach haken. Chumra of kisur adam over shiluach haken. Shekisur adam noeg b'chaya u'be'oif b'mezuman v'b'she'ein mezuman. Right? Whether you own it or you don't own it, it's from the hefker. B'shiluach haken ein noeg ela be'oif. Ve'ein noeg ela b'she'ein mezuman. Only from the hefker can you do the mitzvah shiluach haken, which we'll get into. Ezu she'ein mezuman. What's considered hefker? What's considered not mezuman? Kigain, for example, and the Gemara will get into this more. Avazim, ducks, v'tarnagoyim, or chickens, shekananu b'pardes, that ran out to the field and made themselves a little nest in the open field, not anymore owned in the house. Aval im kinenu b'bayis, but if they made themselves their own nests in the house, v'chen yonei haritzayos, which the Gemara will discuss as well. Pater mishiluach haken. The point is that it has to be from the hefker, and the Gemara will get into this. Oif tamei. Random fact, Oif Tameh is pater mili shaleach, is also pater from the mitzvah of Shiluach Haken. Here's an interesting one. What if you have an Oif Tameh, but it's sitting on tahor eggs, and you want the eggs?
What would that be a problem?
It's not a question of a problem. The question is, do you have a mitzvah of Shiluach Haken? Is the mitzvah of Shiluach
It's not the
Haken?
same birds. It is.
It's shalach shelas ha'aim. This is not the aim of those eggs.
It's not the mother of those eggs. Maybe the aim is dependent on who incubates those eggs, not necessarily who let them out.
That's not an aim. That's not an aim.
Of surrogacy.
I'm saying maybe that's considered aim. Well, we're about to get into the male. You're right. Hold on. That's exactly right. Let's see. Let's see what the Mishnah says. You're laughing, but let's see the Mishnah. Here we go. Oif tamei roivetz al beitzei oif tahor, or the opposite. V'tahor roivetz al beitzei oif tamei. Pater mishalech. You're pater from shiluach haken. And now this one's for you, Levi. Kairem, which is a type of bird, which is a zachar, which is a male. Rebbe Eliezer Mechayev, he has a chiyav of mitzvah shiluach haken. He was very progressive. Very progressive. Chachamim Paichim. Chachamim, good old Chachamim. Chazal. No.
That's right.
That's right.
I don't care who. This would prove that it's for Rachamim, not for standing away.
Okay. Well, Chachamim Paichim. Okay.
That's what Rashi says.
Here's an interesting one. Okay. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Avin v'Rav Misha, Chad Amar. One of them said, Kol heicha d'tnan ba'aretz u'v'chutz la'aretz. Our Mishnah said that the mitzvah is shaykh ba'aretz u'v'chutz la'aretz. Kol heicha d'tnan ba'aretz u'v'chutz la'aretz, sheloi l'tzarech. You didn't really have to write that. It's obvious. But we wrote it for one reason, to qualify one specific case. Levad mereishis agez. Reishis agez, we needed to write that. Why? Because we already learned this. We know this. This is Chazuki Midrabilai. Dama Reishis agez in Agel Baretz. If you recall, he taught us he had Exer Shava. Reishis agez by Truma. Reishis agez is only Shaykh in Eretz Yisrael. So we have to qualify that and say no. Everyone else holds it's Shaykh Baretz Uchatzas. Bechad Amar. Koheicha ditnan bifnei abayis v'shelo bifnei abayis. Anywhere it says bifnei abayis v'shelo, it's not necessary to write that as well. Levad me'osav es b'noi, except for the case of osav es b'noi. Why? Sakadat achamina. You might think hoil ubein yana dekachim ksiv, since it's written by Kohen when there's a base of Migdash. Ninhaig, Bisman Deleka Kachim, Loy Ninhaig. So there may be, since it's only written, the mitzvah of Oisavas Bro is only written by Kachim, and Kachim is only Shach Bisman Beis Hamikdash. So you'd have a Havamina to say, maybe that's only when Beis Hamikdash is Kayim. Beis Hamikdash is not Kayim. I have no mitzvah of Oisavas Bro. Kamashwan in the Mishnah to teach me, no, Oisavas Bro is also Shach when there's no Beis Hamikdash. Kamashwan. V'tarvayu Amri, both Rav Avin and Rav Misha said, Kohecha Ditnan, Bechulin Ubemugdashim, every time the Mishnayos came to teach us that it's Shaykh Bechulin Ubemugdashim, Bechulin not Bemugdashim, that was necessary. Each time I needed to know. Except Levad Megiddah Nashe. Except for Megiddah Nashe. That's Pashut that's Shaykh Bechulin Ubemugdashim. You didn't need to write that. Pshita, Mishum de Ikdish, Hakalei Isser Giddah Nashe Minei. What do you mean? Because you were makdish it. Suddenly the Isser of Giddah Nashe is gone. You have an Isser Giddah Nashe. And now you're makdish Behema. Now you're going to say, Pitom, the Isser is gone. Doesn't work that way. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? Ve'lav ukimna bevlados kachim. But what do you mean? We said that the Chiddush would be the Vlados of kachim. That maybe over there, when you're going to be makdish, the Vlados of these kachim. So now the Chiyuv of Giddah Nashe comes about, first or at the same time. And then you might say, maybe there's no chiyuv of Giddah Nashe because I was makdish it already as a vlad. And that's the chiddush, that you still have the issur of Giddah Nashe. So then I would need to write that as well. Answers the Gemara, no. Well, my time now, Kimna, how come you came on to this fancy explanation of Lados Kachim? Lav mitum de kashalan loy lesni. Mekayman namin loy tikshala. Yeah. Says Rav Mesha and Rav Avin, the whole reason you came up with this fancy shot of Lados Kachim, because you said to yourself, I don't really need to write this at all. Chullin, Kachim, it's obvious that it's shaykh all the time. And I would know that it's shaykh by Vlados. You write this somewhat of a chiddush, but I wouldn't write it for that. So says Rav Mesha and says Rav Avin, don't write the whole thing. You didn't really need to write it. What's the reason I wrote Chullin and Kachim and I made that chiluk? I did the Tana L'Tzarech, Tani Nami Shalai L'Tzarech. Since I wrote the times, when I need it, I wrote the times also that I don't need it. But I really did not need to write it by Giddah Nashe. It was pashut to me, and I even would have known Vlados Kachim, a shaykh in the mitzvah of Giddah Nashe. Okay? One more short piece. Bechulin said the Mishnah of Alo B'Mukdashim, the mitzvah Shiluach Haken is shaykh Bechulin of Alo B'Mukdashim. Amai